some of the features that you'll be able to integrate within Google Classroom to really manage your class and your students. We'll also talk about some various things that we can do within Google Classroom, including managing recurring tasks. We'll talk about grading, adding comments to student work, a little bit of organization within your Google Classroom. And then also, I do encourage throughout the entire time, if you have any questions, as always, feel free, unmute yourself, feel free to post in the chat, and that's no problem as well. So just like the last time, do just want to highlight that we will record the session. So your camera is currently off, but yeah, feel free to keep it off if you don't want to be recorded, just so that we want to make sure we can have these sessions. All right. So let's jump in. We're going to start with talking about the integration between Google Meets and Google Classroom. And then, of course, we're going to talk about some of the things. If you have any specific questions as well, just like you noted about sites, I definitely want to address those through the day as well, through the hour as well. So I'm just going to jump into one of my classes, and we will talk about how we can take a look at what this looks like in Google Meets and Google Classroom. So just an example class I have, actually this is the student side. Let's go to my teacher. So this is an example class that I have. And one of the great things that Google added just a couple months ago, of course, basically with once the pandemic came and everyone went remote, Google added the integration with Google Meets into your Google Classroom. So right here on the Stream tab, you have the Meet link, and you're able to, of course, access this link. You're able to go to the meeting. So if I just click on that link, I'm able to go to the meeting, and this would be a meeting that I can host directly with my students. All right, so I can host this directly with my students, and we'd be able to hold an actual meeting. Before I go to the meeting though, one thing that's really notable is on this home page, on the Stream tab, we have this little eyeball with the cross out. And what this means is students cannot see this Meet link yet. So there's no way for them to actually click on it to actually join the meeting. And what that looks like, if we see it from the example of an actual student, so this is my student example on the right-hand side, I can see that they don't have that Meet link to click on, right? My teacher has it, but my students don't. So what do I have to do to get my students to have it? On my teacher's view, again, that's just on the left-hand side here, I'm gonna click the settings, and I'm gonna scroll down in the general section, and I will see this Meet section, all right? So to make it visible to my students, I have to toggle this little button on, right? So once I toggle that on, I click Save. Now my students will have the opportunity, and on my teacher side, you'll notice it changed from that crossed out eyeball into like a little video camera, and I can see now it popped up for my student. Now my students can now access the actual Meet link and join the Google meeting. So I'm gonna go ahead and see as this teacher. So right now, this is the teacher side on the left, and I can go ahead and join this meeting. So I'm gonna join this meeting here. It gives me some details. So this is a teacher in the meeting at the moment, all right? Now on the right-hand side, the student will be able to do the same thing. So the student, they'll go over, and once they see that they're getting ready to join, they'll be able to see the other participants who are actually in the meeting. So once it comes up, we'll actually see that the teacher is currently in the call. So we could see Bounce Teacher, who is the example. They're actually currently in the call. I would be able to see other participants, so other students who are in the call as well. And I'd be able to go ahead and join the call as the student. So I'm just let me actually mute myself so there's no echo, and I will join the call as a student. All right. So now, and I'll have a couple videos going here. Give me a second, just takes a little bit running. Perfect. So now, of course, it's just me working as both the Mouse teacher and as the student, but we can see that both the teacher and the student would be in the call. All right. So we're in our meeting. A couple things to highlight, and I'm actually going to turn off the video for just one of them here. So a couple things to highlight. First thing, generally very basic. I'm actually going to just pull up from the teacher side just so we could see. If you're the teacher or if you're anyone who's in the meeting, you can, of course, see the participants at the top. So you can see all of the participants who are in the meeting. You'd be able to see all of their details here. In addition, I'll actually just show from the default bar. You also have the option to see the chat. And you have some activities that you'd be able to play around with, which I'll show you in a moment as well. So again, I just have my participants, I have the chat, and if I just say, hello, everyone, right, then everyone will be able to see my chat. So I'll actually just turn off this video as well. So everyone will be able to see my chat, all right? So that's perfect there. Now, a couple features that have recently been added to the Google Meets platform here. And I'm going to work on the teacher side and the student side. So just to highlight, teacher side is on the left, the student side is on the right. So this is the student here. So if I go and I click these three dots just on the bottom, a couple things I could do. Now, first thing I could do, I could actually change my background here. And I'll turn on my video for this example so we can all see what this will look like. So in my, if I turn on my, I could blur my background. And what this will do, if you're familiar with Zoom, right? Zoom has all those different backgrounds that you can add. Now, Google, to, of course, protect privacy and various things like that, it added the opportunity to blur the background in our Google Meet. So if I click blur background, it's gonna process a little bit. And now what I have is tons of different either backgrounds that I can choose from, or I can simply do different kinds of blurs of my background. So I can choose slightly blur, and it'll process a little bit, and it'll start to run, right? And it'll give me just a marginal blur of my background. Should give me a marginal blur. It takes a second to process. Yep, so it gives me a small blur of my background, right? Also could do a little bit more stronger of a blur, and it will blur my background here. Or I can choose from the various backgrounds that Google does provide. So again, it just takes a little bit. My computer isn't the strongest in the world, but I can choose from the various backgrounds and I can see what that looks like, right? So various different opportunities for me to actually change the backgrounds in my G Suite, in my Google Meets, to accommodate the privacy that I may need or that my students may need as well. So great features for me there, and I'll just close this out. Perfect. So a couple other things that I'm actually able to do here. So now, so I'm able to blur my background. Also in my three dots here, a couple settings, I have this little option that's recently come up as well, a whiteboard, and they call it a Jamboard. Let me do that so my computer runs a little bit faster. So I have the opportunity for a Jamboard. And what this is, it's a whiteboard that you can utilize to collaborate with your students directly within Google Meets. So if I go ahead and click whiteboard, I'm going to open up a new whiteboard for my students. I can start a new whiteboard, or if I have an existing one already, I can create one from, choose one from my drive that I already have. I'm just going to start a new whiteboard. Now, once I start a new whiteboard, what happens here is it will create a new, so it will create, give me a new pop-up. It will show, okay, do I want to share with these people? Make sure that everyone is able to get access to it, all right? And I'm going to send this to make sure my students have access. Now, if you notice my student here, they got a notification saying they shared, this jam is shared with them. Now we have the opportunity to collaborate directly on this whiteboard. And what this does, it's a very, very simple whiteboard platform that Google does provide for you to collaborate with your students. Has generally all the basic features of a whiteboard, has a pen tool that you can add. You also can highlight a couple markers, different things you can do with your tool here. You have an eraser that you can erase, of course, your pointer tool, just like your mouse pointer. You also have sticky notes. So you could say, just sticky notes that you can add onto your whiteboard in various different colors, right? Various different things you can do. You also have shapes that you can add. You can add a circle, you can add squares, triangles, various different things. And then of course you can add text. So if I'd like to add text, hello class. And also you have a laser pointer. So if you as a teacher, you want to use your laser pointer, you can do that as well, okay? So great features just as a very simple whiteboard. And again, all of your students in the meeting will get access to this whiteboard to collaborate with, again, directly in the meeting. So we're still in the meeting. We can be communicating with each other while also working on this whiteboard. So it's a great feature that's directly integrated into Google Meets. And the other thing that's also great about this, I'm going to close that out, and you could always, of course, go back and access it. Well, I'll actually note the 2 ways you can go back and access it. So first thing, it's posted in the chat. Once you create it, it's posted in the chat for you to be able to access and your students to be able to access. The other thing that's really great, if you, let's say you all are communicating through the chat and the chat starts to pile up and you lose the link in there, instead of having to go back, copy the link, paste in the chat, what you can do, and anyone can do this in their Google Meet. I'll make this a little bit bigger. At the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see it's just the meeting letters, pasted there, and then you'll also see this little paper clip. This tells me that there's an attachment here. If I click on it, I have details of the meeting. I can click attachments, and I will see this actual Jamboard that I created, and it will always be posted there. So you don't have to worry about scrolling through a chat if it's been going on for so long. You could always just go to the bottom left, go to attachments, and go directly to Jamboard, and it will always open up. Doesn't close your meeting. Remember, your meeting is always still here. All right, you're still accessible with your in your meeting, but your Jamboard does open up. All right, so great feature for you to utilize to collaborate with your students directly within Google Meets. So the other thing I do want to highlight is 2 other things I do want to highlight. Next thing here at the bottom, you also have this turn on captions option. And what this does, if I turn on my captions here, and I'm actually going to unmute myself, I think it should be okay. Oh, 1 second. Okay. So now when I'm working with my, let's turn on, there we go. So I'm working with my captions, and now I can actually see the captions that are coming up as I speak, right? So this is a great way for you to actually see what's being spoken. I think this works great with, students who are learning English, or, who are maybe working with something else. Maybe they're watching a video on the side and you gave them some sort of task. They can actually just turn on captions and watch them as they go through. So great feature here. And I'm just gonna turn this off, turn off captions. So yeah, you do have that feature. Now, the final thing I do want to highlight is this new activities section of Google Meets. And this gives you a couple of things that you can do. You can create a poll for your students. So find out, just about different topics, poll your students to get some responses on various things you may be discussing. Or you can you can ask questions and get answers directly within your Google Meets. So for example here, and this will be great to show with the student as well. So again, the teacher is on the left, the student is on the right-hand side, just as in the example. I'm gonna pose a question to the class. So I just click the little activities tab, I click Q&A, and I'm gonna pose a question. There's no questions yet, I'm gonna ask a question. Let's say I'm in history class. Let's say, who was the first president of the USA? Right? So just a quick basic question, and I'll post the question. All right, so I posted the question. I can see that I'm the teacher, I posted this question. Now on my student view, I can see I have a new notification on the activities. I'll go into the activities. I can see with the little dot that there's a question here. Now, great, I could see that my teacher asked a question, who was the first president of the United States? They asked that question, and then what we can do, we can go ahead and actually type a response, right? So George, right, Washington. Right, and I could post that as a response to the question. So it's a great note. I can like the question, do various things. As the student, I can also ask a question myself, right? How was your day? Something, anything. I can ask various questions, post it, and then everyone will get the responses, or will get the question here. As the teacher, you have full control of the questions here, right? So notice that you as a teacher here, you can modify the various things. You can delete the questions. You can make it either hidden or visible, right, to the students, right? So if I made it hidden, so I think it just disappeared. Yep, so now the student, right, they can't see it. Or you can mark the question as answered, and it will be good. And you can see also the student saw it was already answered, right? So various features that you can do with the Q&A feature here within Google Meets. And you could also not allow questions. So you could turn that off, and now no one is able to ask questions within Google Meets until you turn it back on as a teacher, right? So those are the features that you do have as a teacher of the class. Now, last thing I do want to show is the polls option here. So in polls, this allows you to start a poll and pose some sort of poll and get some responses from the students. So what's going to happen when we do this? We'll try this out here. We start with a poll. Now I can ask a question and I can get some responses. And this can be about anything. It could be relating to the topic that you're teaching. It could be relating to something else that you're working with, right? So I'll just use an example. What is your favorite color? And I'll just say blue. I'll say red, right? And green, right? Various different things, right? And I can add tons of options. I'll go ahead and save this. So I didn't launch it yet. I see what I want. I want to make sure that everything is good. And I'll go ahead and launch that poll. Now notice on my students view, a new poll has been launched. I'm going to go to my activities. I see my polls. And now I have the opportunity to respond to this poll. Okay, what's your favorite color? My favorite color is blue. So I'll vote on that poll. And now I get some responses, right? And right now the students can't see any of the responses. As the teacher, if I want to show everyone the results, now I can toggle that on and make sure that my students see it. Okay? So it's a great feature that you can utilize within Google Meets to just get some good feedback, to collaborate both with your students and for your students to collaborate amongst each other as well. All right? So go ahead and close this out, and we're going to jump into, we'll actually jump back. Yep, go ahead.
There's one more new great feature they created, the breakout rooms.
Yes.
Early this month, so I've been having a blast using it. So.
Yes, breakout rooms, yes. And it's actually really interesting. They've been rolling out breakout rooms within Google Meets. Let me actually see. I may be able to potentially bring up a breakout room. Let me see if I can get a breakout room here that we would be able to see.
It's really nicely done, so you can add students, remove them at random.
Yeah. Okay. So one of the things my Google Meets is not currently fully updated, at least my Google Meets, with all the features that they've been rolling out. But yes, I've been able to see the breakout rooms, and I think it's a great feature. And it's really accommodated a lot of the students. Of course, Zoom has had the breakout rooms, but now that Meets has breakout rooms and it's integrated directly within Classroom, I think that's a great feature. So yeah. Okay. So let's jump back into Google Classroom. And again, just my teacher side is on the left, student side is on the right. So one thing I do, I think personally is really great. So of course, with the Google Meets, you have the link here. Let's say that you don't always want your students to view the Meet link right on the Stream tab, right? I can go back and I can hide that, all right? So it's not visible to students. And instead, what you can do, you can just take the Meet link that we have. All right, I'll just go ahead and copy that. Let me click on it. I'll just actually copy it here. And instead, what I can do, I can go ahead and just post on the stream, right? And say, please join the Meet at 10 a.m., right? For class, right? So just posting that there, I can add a link. I'll just post that Meet link here. I'll post it, and then we should have, right, it gives us a video conference meeting. I can go ahead, always click it. My students will be able to click it and join the meeting. All right, so, sometimes for security, I may not want to keep it up on the stream all the time. Maybe I just want to post it so that they know it's either here, or maybe even doing both, all right? And also the other great feature that we do have with the Meets, so back in settings, of course, we have the opportunity to reset that link. Right, so if I want to reset it, I want to use one maybe every week or every other day or something like that, I can always reset that Meet link. Right, and it'll give me a completely new Meet link that will be generated, and I can always go ahead and share it with my students, put it on the stream, or even just I can modify this one. I can post it for my stream here. Right, so great features that I can utilize to collaborate with my students. And really highlight Google Meets in Google Classroom here.
Yes, I have a question?
Yeah.
Supposing you have, because next week I'll be having parent conferences, and I
Mm-hmm.
have a time frame for that,
Yes.
about 3 hours. I have to accommodate so many parents. So how can I use Google Meet to accommodate them different time, maybe 15 minutes each?
Yeah. So curious, do you use like are you familiar with the calendar within your classroom?
Yeah, calendar. Yeah,
No.
yeah.
So one thing, I guess one thing I would suggest. So let's say you have your meeting here. So two things I actually suggest. So of course, in your Google Classroom, you have a dedicated calendar for your classroom. And it's actually associated with all of your classes, so you can schedule them accordingly. So I'll actually go into the calendar here. And so let's say, for example, you have various meetings, right? You can set your meetings, and I'll actually show an example. So let's say parent meeting 1, right? I'll come back and modify this in a second. Oops, sorry. Let me do another one. I'll say parent meeting 2, right? And I can have various meetings, right? So let's say my parent meeting 1, I'll go ahead and modify this. Let's say this is going to be only 15 minutes. So this will only be to 10:15, or whichever time it may be accommodated for. Now, a couple things that you could do. So of course, depending on your situation, let's say you have multiple parent meetings and you have meetings with parents from students in different classes. So in your actual Google Calendar from your Google Classroom, so all I did, I went to the Classroom tab, and at the top of it, you have Google Calendar, you have your class drive as well. So I just clicked on the calendar, and then I have my meeting, and I can change just at this section here, I can change the specific class that I want this associated with, right? So if I know that it's a student from my 10th grade history class, I can select that specifically. Or if it's from another class, I can select that specifically, my geometry class, right? I can make sure that's selected. Then what I can do, a couple things. Under the guests, I can, of course, invite the guests. So if it's a specific parent, and I'll just use myself as an example, I can invite the parents as well as the student or co-teachers or whoever it may be. I can invite them. And then I can have it, Google automatically just generates a Google Meet for them directly within the calendar. So now once the parent gets the notification that this will be sent to them, they will also see that not only can they join this calendar invite, but they can also click on the Meet link once they need to join the meeting. Mm-hmm. And what's great about this, and once you save it, you can say, okay, would you like to send invitations? Make sure that they get an email notifying them of this. I'm actually going to just remove myself just so I don't get an email. But once I do save it, that one now has a Google Meet in it. But I can go to the next one. Let's say the next parent meeting. I'll just make sure I change the time to, let's say this one starts at 10:30, right, to 11 or to 10:45, right? Once I do that, yeah. Once I do that, now I can select the class, maybe it's a different class, right? And I can still invite people again, invite parents, and it will give me a completely new, excuse me, a completely new Google Meet link that will be generated for them. So this is a different Meet link from the one that I scheduled with the other parent, right? So that's a great feature to differentiate between the two meetings. I hope that may kind of hopefully answer your question a little bit.
Yeah, that's nice. I'll play with it and see.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, Google is really great with being able to generate the different Meet links. So again, between the different meetings, they won't conflict. So obviously you set the time, but those Meet links won't conflict with each other. So that's a great
But
thing.
my student is suggesting using Calendly. I don't know what you know about it.
Calendarly, yes, I've heard of it. I think a Nigerian entrepreneur created it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But it's a really great feature. I'm not sure if there's integration between Google Classroom and Calendarly, but I'm sure there's definitely ways that you can integrate Google Meets. Definitely, maybe just even getting the Meet link and maybe linking it into Calendarly. Yeah, that'd be something I have to take a look at.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to use.
Yeah. So yeah, that'd definitely be good. So a couple other things, and I think this will be helpful in terms of addressing your little integration with sites. So one thing just to highlight, so if you go into settings and in general. So these are the default settings for the stream, right? Students can post and comment. I generally like to keep it as only teachers can post and comment, just so that, I can control what information is going on the stream. So I can make sure that only the most important announcements are coming on the stream. And then the other thing I do like to do is classwork on the stream. Generally, I like to keep this as high notifications, so that once I have it as high notifications, all the assignments won't show up directly on the stream page. So right here, I can see that I have all of my assignments that are posted. They are all directly on the stream page. But if I go to my my settings here and I change this to only teachers can post and comment, and then also hide notifications, save that. Now only the most important notifications. So if I post something directly, those will show up on the stream, right? So if I post a meet link, if my co-teacher posts something, right? If I post an announcement, right? Only those will show up on the stream. And then any assignments, I generally just like to leave a post for my students. Please see the classwork tab for all of your assignments, right? And then they can make sure on the stream, they come to their stream and they say, I don't see any assignments. Okay, my teacher just posted. I have to check out the classwork tab. They know that they need to go to the classwork tab. So great thing that you can do there just for organization a little bit. Okay. And just the other piece about organization, of course, it's very common as teachers, we get cluttered up very, very easily. Of course, I know I tend to, sometimes I start in September feeling good about my work. By the time December comes, everything is unorganized. I have assignments all over. Everything is super unorganized. So one of the great features, of course, is using the different topics. So here I have various assignments that are not assigned to anything. I also have my various topics. So my writing assignments, my history, my ELA, whatever topics it may, my math, whatever is associated with. Of course, you could take any assignments, drag and drop them into various different sections. So if I could take things out, move them in or out. I can also move my sections amongst each other. I can change the order of my different sections, do various things like that. One thing I do want to highlight about the organizational piece is the opportunity to kind of archive your work. So generally, I don't like to delete work from my classroom, because I know that I have students who will come back looking for reference work or looking for some review work, or there's some information that I just want to keep and maybe keep it together by the end of the school year. I just want to make sure I have all these things and look back at what I've done. So generally what I did here is actually just created an archived work section. And in my archived work, this would just be older work that I don't necessarily work on. So maybe it's from a previous unit, maybe it's from a previous section or previous marking period, but I just added it to archived work so that it's not in the way of my current work. So just put an archived work topic, and I just added it at the very bottom of my classwork, just so that I can have it there and keep some of the old work that I don't need anymore. So that's just a potential skill that may be helpful with organizing your classwork tab a little bit for your class and for your students.
Yeah, so this was what I had in mind, this archived work. When I thought about integrating sites with the Google Classroom, I was thinking maybe you can just move them to sites, let them stay there permanently, and people can access them there.
It's interesting. So you mean like site, like a Google Sites, like a site?
Google Sites, yes. Using it as part of your classroom.
Interesting. You could potentially do that. So I guess it would depend on the type of work that you have, right? So if you have, I don't know, your various assignments, and depending on the different attachments, you could have the attachments live on the sites. I guess it depends on the type of work that you have. So like if you have your site, right, and let's say you have, this is just a weekly journal, right? You could obviously take your link from here and embed it onto your Google Sites. Or you can embed it onto your Google Sites, and it will always live on your site. So maybe I guess this would be good as an example for like, in math, we use like reference documents, right? Or that may have various equations that students need to reference. Then you could always link it to the site, And that could be something. I'm not sure if that's something you're thinking of, or maybe something different.
Yeah, I was thinking of an attached Google Sites, for your classroom, where you can post reading materials, projects, assignments, reference materials. You can just go.
What you can do, if you, a couple of things you could do. So like, let's say you have, this is what you could potentially do. This is kind of like a workaround. It's not perfect because, so like if you have an assignment, of course you can add the various attachments, but there's no one that you could specifically add a site. What you can do is, instead of creating an assignment, you could create a material. And in the material, what you can do, so I'll just say math class, or let's say math material. So if I have my reference material, and I could say, please see the site for reference material, right? And then I can take my site as an example. Actually, I have an existing site. Let me bring this link, and I'll use this because I just created this one. I can take a site that I have. So this is just an example site that I previously created. I can take this site, and then I can add that link to the site, and I could just post it here, right? So now once I post this and it's just posted, I can also create a new topic, and I can say, math reference material, right? I can post that. And now with that, I can maybe always have it at the top. So now I can always make sure that my students see this material and they know that they'd have to go to this site, and then they would be able to get my material. So this is just an example site I created for like a history course, and right, they can go get the various material that they need, right? You can post the various videos and pictures and various different things. I think I posted a document on, yeah, this one has a document posted, right? So maybe I post some reference material, something like that. I'm not sure if maybe that could be a workaround.
That's exactly what I was thinking about. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I think this is a good way. And the material option is great because it's not assigned to students. It's just material, right? So students know that this is just some reference material that I need to always check on. So that could be a good option for you.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a great question. I think that's a good. I maybe would even love to see the option to fully integrate. When you do create an assignment, maybe you could create a site. That would potentially be a good option for the future with Google as well. But yeah, that's a good question. So a couple other things that I want to highlight, and I'm not sure if you are familiar with. I'm going to go into a previous example that I have of this is material. So perfect. So previous example I have. So I'll go into some work that I have. This is just an assignment that I previously gave. Go into my assignment, and some of my students worked on the work. I'll click into one of my students' work. And one thing that you do have the opportunity to do is utilize this comment bank within Google Classroom. So you have the grading option here, but then you also have this comments bank option. And what's great for the comment bank is that it gives you the opportunity to save comments that you use very frequently within your Google Classroom when grading students' work. So let's say, for example, I need to grade the students' work, and let's say I see a consistent mistake that students make between the various work that they have. So they did work here. What I can do, I can add a comment here and say something like, I think common is make sure you perform operations on both sides of the equation, right? That's like a common, I know that's a common thing when I'm doing like linear equations, and my students, they do think one thing on one side of the equation and then they don't do it on the other side, something like that. So I can add that comment for my student there, right?
Yeah.
But instead of consistently putting this comment in for every single student, right? If it's a consistent thing I see, what I can do, I'll actually delete this comment, and I can just add it to my comment bank. So if I add to my comment bank, what this does, I'll just add this here. Now this will live within my comment bank, and I will always see this comment whenever I'm going to comment on any work that I have. So for example, let's say I want to comment here. I'll leave a comment and I'll say perform. Now it automatically pops up for me. So I don't have to type in the whole thing. I know that I'm going to be using this very frequently, and I'll go ahead and comment in there. So that's automatically there. Okay, so it's a great feature that you can actually utilize. And what's also great about this, I put that in my comment bank. If I go back and let me see if I can find a good example. If I go to any other work that I previously had, so let's say I have some other work that I gave to my students. This is a weekly journal, perfect. So if I have a weekly journal of another student who was working on it, what I can do here, this is a completely different assignment in a completely different topic. I can go ahead in here, I can add a comment, and this comment bank, right? Let me go to my comment bank. Yeah, so my comment bank is actually here. So I should be able to, yes. Oh, perform, sorry about that, perform. Right, there we go. So now my comment bank actually works across all of my assignments, my entire class, and it also works across different classrooms. So you don't have to worry about continuously creating a new comment bank for each of your classrooms. It will live across your entire Google Classroom. So it's a great feature for you to be able to utilize. So a couple other things, just do want to highlight a few other things and finish off with grading, which I think will be helpful. So coming back into the classroom. So in your classroom, two things, and I also kind of highlights with what you were noting in terms of like if you're a parent teacher, if you're meeting with parents, if you go into the if you go into the stream tab, actually, we'll go into the left-hand side. And what we'll actually see is if we have settings. Now, this settings menu is just for your notifications. So just a great highlight in being able to manage your various notifications, right? Making sure that you can both, you as a teacher, you'll be able to receive notifications on various things, receive notifications for your different classes. This is also something that's really great to show your students as well. So making sure that they are receiving the appropriate notifications based on the different assignments that you're assigning to them. Okay, so it's a great thing to actually note for them. The other thing that I did want to highlight, and I don't have it on mine here, but you will have, your students will actually have the opportunity to invite parents. So you would be able to invite parents to actually be able to join the class as well, as long as they're associated with each of the students. All right? So generally, again, I don't have it on mine here currently, but you will be able to invite parents to actually join the class along with their corresponding students. So that's a great feature that they do have within Google Classroom.
We already use that, yes.
You use that, right? Okay, perfect. Yep, so that's a great thing. So now just to finish off, I do want to just quickly highlight grading. And so I'm sure you do the grading as well. I'm just going to highlight a couple things I think might be useful. So of course you have the grades tab, and we could always go into grades, and we could add the different grades if we like down the line. Right, I can say students got whatever they got for each of their grades. Once I grade, I can click the three dots, return each individual submission, or I can go to the top and return all of the submissions. If I go to the assignments, right, and I have some students' work, I can also grade them right directly on the side here, right? So maybe they got 55, and I can always go ahead, click the amount of students. Maybe I want to return all the work for the students, or maybe I only want to return one of the students' work, right? I can do that. Then finally, another way I can grade, I can go into the actual document that they've been working on. I can obviously on the right-hand side, just go ahead and change the various grade that they have. So if it would either be blank or I can change their grade. I can add a private comment. I can say great work, post that comment for them, return it to them so that they get the comment. And at the top here, I have the option to just go through all of my students. So if I want to just grade the same document for each student, I can grade their work and then just go through the line, finish grading all of my students. right? And then I could either return each individual student, or clicking the down arrow, I can, again, return this individual student's work or return multiple submissions. So this would be multiple students, either all my students or maybe just a few of my students. I could return their work, right? So great features I can do with the grading in Google Classroom. The final thing I do want to note with grading, if I go back to my grades here, so if I'm looking in my grade section, and this is great if you are working with a different platform. So for example, there's platforms like Pupil Path or Scheduler or PowerSchool or various different platforms that are external from Google Classroom that you manage your students' data in. What you can do, you can click into any individual assignment. So I'll click in this assignment here. Now, first thing I can do on the top right-hand corner, I have a couple options. I have the settings option. Gives me a few things to do. First of all, the one at the bottom, it says download these grades as a CSV. So this would download the grades for this specific assignment as like an Excel file. So I can take that Excel and upload it into whatever other grading platform I utilize. The other options here, I have copy all grades to Google Sheets. So this would copy all the grades in my gradebook. So not only just this assignment, but all the grades in my gradebook, it would copy it to a Google Sheets. Or I can download all the grades in my gradebook as a CSV. So that gives me a lot of flexibility on being able to download the grades and then upload them to another platform that I'm currently utilizing. So I know many schools don't necessarily utilize Google Classroom as their main learning management system, but they, of course, integrate various features. So again, you may use some external system along with Google Classroom. You have the opportunity to just download all the grades from your gradebook and then actually upload it to whatever other system you're utilizing. So that's another great feature that Google Classroom does provide to cross-integrate between platforms.
What's the difference between CSV and Google Sheets?
Yeah, so CSV is just like an Excel file that would download to your computer, whereas Google Sheets would be like a new Google Sheet within your drive that would live within your drive. So I have a lot of grades, so it may take a little bit, but yeah, so now you can literally see your grade book within, this is just a sheet. So it may take a little bit to load. Yep, there we go. But this is literally your entire grade book and it's saved to your drive. This one is saved directly to your drive. And this looks literally like your entire grade book here. And it's just just within your drive, right? So it shows, it will have all of your information there. Yeah, the CSV would just be like an Excel file. So I can show you an example. It should download. Yeah, so now this will just download as an Excel file, or I'm currently using a Mac, so it's a little different, but this would be the same process. Again, all of your grades are downloaded, and then you can upload it to, a different system that you're working with. Mm-hmm. And again, just to highlight that download all grades is your entire gradebook. Download these grades would be just this specific assignment. So now with this assignment, we would see it's only this assignment, all right? So that's a slight difference there, but I think it's a good feature to, again, integrate with different platforms. All right? So, so that was a lot of information. Hopefully it was helpful. But do you have any other questions though? We have like,
no point. We use Aries. So anytime we grade in Google Classroom, then it copies over to Aries.
Okay, so you have integration with Google Classroom and Aries already?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so that's great. That is great. Okay. Perfect. Okay, so yeah, if you have any other questions or anything you may have been confused on or any like workarounds you may be thinking of that you may need help on, yeah, I mean, feel free to ask. I mean, if not, it's no problem. I think there's a couple of things we did, which was good.
This is fine.
Okay. So before you do go though, and I think just like similar, if you could just, we would love if you could just fill out the post survey. That'd be really helpful for us to, continue working. And yeah, it should take like 1 minute or so. And yeah, great. So yeah, we have one more PD tomorrow. So if you feel free to join the last one that we do have coming up tomorrow.
What time is it? At what time?
Let me double check. Jacob, do you know what time this one will be?
It's at 8 a.m. I think East Coast time, so it might be a little early.
See, this is we're in the middle of the classroom at that time. I'm only doing this because I've just finished my classes.
Okay.
The past 2 days I was with you, I was also attending faculty meetings too. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah, simultaneously. So.
Okay.
I can't say anything because
no problem. Well, I'm glad that you were able to join during your meeting and at least get something out of it. Hopefully the integration with Google Sites was helpful that you can take back.
Thanks. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. Do appreciate you joining. All right, thank you.